here, Baltimore by way of New York. So New York girls hustle hard, in Jersey, North Carolina, all across the globe. Everyone hustle hard, and as black women, we gotta hustle even harder to get ours. So y'all stay tuned. We're getting ready to have our guest. She is in the building, and we are live here at Impact. Thank you for all the women who have shared and gave and sown so much of their time, talent, and treasury. So to keep making this happen, it would not be possible without you. So make sure you like, comment, and share. We're getting ready to get started in just about two couple minutes. See you soon. Hello, hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. It is our first Fridays. We are back. We are live here at Impact. So we thank God for you. Make sure I told you like, comment, and share. I have a special guest. This is my cousin, Gianna Frankie. She is a CEO. She is a very well-learned woman. I looked up to her all my life, so I thank God for her. She's a godly woman. She's a woman of experience. She's a very well educated woman. So I thank God for her.
Wow, thank you. That is awesome. Thank you so much. It is truly an honor to be here today, and I'm just looking forward to it. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, like I had said in the opening, we want to equip every woman with everything they need to make sure that you fulfill your destiny, that you fulfill every dream, every purpose. I'm telling you, if it's anything that you can do that a black woman do, you can do anything because we have shown that throughout the years in the struggle. You know, we had black women CEOs. This is the year for the black women. We have our black woman vice president that you can achieve anything in spite of it all. So I had a young woman ask me, he was like, so this is the first black woman president that we have ever had? I said, yes. In the history of our nation, that this is what, so it's a big shift that's happening. And so we don't want you all to miss out on this shift. I'm telling you, I just read something. I found something on her website, so I just wanted to share some of her accomplishment because she's very outgoing. If you all know Gianna Gigi, you know Gigi is one person. That's her alter ego. That's the alter ego person. But Gianna Frankie, the CEO, she has her own general contract and construction company that was established in 2007, and that is getting ready to expand and go to another level. If you all go to certain places in the city, she's one of the very few black women contractors that service in Baltimore, and I think she's expanding her reach into other cities right now because of her experience. I'm telling you, that's a long time. Um, I was just really just fresh out of college by the time that she was establishing that. And during that time, she was working a job at Verizon. She was doing what she needed to do. She was a single mom and a homeowner, but she had these dreams and aspirations. She has her bachelor's degree in information systems and her master's degree in business administration from AIU Chicago, Illinois. She graduated. She just told me that she will be pursuing a second master's degree in this fall. So I just wanted to bring her in to let you know that just to see the evidence that all things are possible if you put your mind through it to it with God, especially because, and we were having some discussions, and I noticed she's going to share some things about, it's a really, really big wealth transfer that's happening. We have stock splits coming up that everybody can take advantage of. I'm telling you, if people put money away, we waste so much money on things.
Yes, absolutely.
We waste so much money like on food. If we could, like, if I stay out the malls, like I had to take Amazon. Like I like, just take Amazon, just take it off. You know, I only go in there for the business because it's just silly things that you just see and little knickknacks and little things for the kitchen. It's just stuff that we don't need. Eating out, you know. I saw how much money, you know, about budgeting and all those things that, you know, that just basic things that women, you know, Black women, that we need to take and be mindful of those things, you know, as far as like helping us.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, my grandmother used to say the small foxes kill the vine, right? And so, and I didn't understand. I'm like, what does she mean by that, right? But the little things do build up to become colossal things, right? And it happens so subliminal, right? So unforeseen. And before you know it, for example, you could have $100 in your pocket, but you spend 5 here, 10 there, 15 here, and before you know it, you're broke, right? Really, we got to look at finances the same way, right? And so a lot of things, and I think that we're kind of in a different time now because of access to information, social media, everybody wanting to be so much oppressed upon and everything. Everybody is kind of lost individualism, right? Everybody wants to be a part of or be accepted by, and in that comes all of that. I need to have the best design of this. I need to have, because who are you dressing up for? Who? Right? Where and don't get me wrong, because I like some nice things too.
Yes.
And I sometimes
Always.
I'm in the store like, you know what, I work
Always.
hard. And
Oh
I'm
no, the
just gonna
baby's
go
being
get this.
Burberry and the grandbaby.
Right,
And
you
her
know?
birthday is today.
It sure is. Yes, it is. Happy birthday, baby Bray. So, but you know, so I'm not saying there's anything wrong with treating yourself. Yes, we work very hard. We should be able to enjoy the fruits of our labor, but we also have to use wisdom in that, right? And so if you have $100, for example, how much of that did you invest in? You know, did you take $30 and put it aside, and then you can work with the other 70? You know, we got to look at numbers that way. And you mentioned something about this being, you know, a critical time right now, right? And you know, the media will call out recession, right? And they'll tell you about all the things that are going wrong with the way that the market and the current conditions are right now, inflation and so on and so forth. But what they're not really saying is how much of an opportune time this is. Why did the government drive I'm not going to say the government. Let me rephrase that. Why did the circumstances of the decisions of the people in government get us to the place that we are now? Because it's an opportune time. It's a cycle. When did we go through this? In 2008. And how many people became wealthy in 2008? Exactly. You got to look at it like this. The economy is like an elevator that rises up, right? And at some point, it has to stop and drop and come back down and come back up. So guess what, folks? We about to be at the point where we're dropping down, and that is an opportune time to start investing. Investing in real estate, investing in stocks. Everybody's talking about, oh, the stock market is down. Oh, the stock market crashed. Dollar signs, dollar signs, dollar signs. That's like going to the dollar store and buying something that's going to end up in Neiman Marcus in 2 years. I'm putting it to you like that. You know, we need to be educated about the times and when to buy and when. And we don't learn these things because guess what? Culturally wise, many instances, we haven't been afforded the opportunity to have access to this information. Children, if you're listening to me, you have access to information with social media, with Google, with the internet has taken off and become something that it was not 15 years ago. Okay? When we were in school and we were coming up, we had to look for information in books. Encyclopedias. Libraries. You had to work to get information. Now all you have to do is work your fingers on the app on the phone. So maybe you allocate some of that time that you're spending on Facebook and TikToking and dancing and doing all of that to figure out how you're going to start to build some wealth for yourself. Sorry.
Wisdom, jewels, pertinent jewels that young people need that we want to share. This is why it's just like this, not just for women, young women. This is for all people of all races who, you know, of economics. Sometimes it's not always about color because it's just about, it's economics, about people being afforded opportunities. You know, we were both raised by single moms, you know, auntie and And my mom is just like, they did everything they had to do. You know, we would pull together, and I would go stay over there. My mom was working 2 jobs, and I would have to go stay at their house, you know, and all those things. But, you know, when we were talking about that, she had mentioned that, you know, it's just like we didn't know about owning a home, you know. And I'm telling you, it's just like for her and Gigi, like Gianna is taking it to another level, you know, of being ownership. I remember those nights when you were in school, because she was a single mom then. She had Daquan, and she struggled. She did everything. She would just come in the house and just lay there on the couch and just sleep, you know, be depleted to the point it's going to take some effort. It's going to take a push. It's going to be a press, you know, and that's why, you know, it's just, you're going to have to do it for a certain amount of season. And I like what you were saying, because the Bible always reflects that. And when Daniel, when they were prophesying about the 7 years up and the 7 years are down, that he was trying to get there, he was telling the king about the dreams, make sure you store up. So that's in the Bible, like they were storing up the food, and that his brothers, they had to come back and humble themselves like, hey, who is this dude that got all this food, that got all this resources? We was running around here playing around. We was doing us, you know, and then, but the king was prepared to be able to save and give something to the people. So it's always those 7 years up and 7 years down, that God already created that back then in the biblical days. So that is a cycle that is being built off the word of God right there. The way God, that's the cycle of God. And it's just like, but people in the world, like they've taken a cycle of God and they've taken advantage of it and say, okay, we're going to hop on this. Like, yes, we see it dropping. We see NASDAQ going down. Like I'm watching C-SPAN in the morning. And it was like, I was able to catch the Amazon stock at 2,000. So I was able to get a couple of those. And it's just so much getting ready to happen in this month.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You just mentioned Amazon. And so I'm not a savvy investor, right? But I figured out something. And I'm going to say this to all individuals. Education is key, right? Wisdom is key. And this is something that I always, always, always pray for, right? Because people think you're rich and they equate it with monetary things. But you're rich when you're wealthy. Rich is really about being wealthy, right? And wealthy is not just about monetary things, right? It's about knowledge. It's about resources. It's about finances is one aspect of it. But it's about a combination of things to make up the whole thing, right? I'm going to talk about 2 things if I can. You mentioned that. I remember growing up in New York, and there was a period where my mom, she relocated here, and you know, all of you, my family. and I went kicking and screaming, and I absolutely was not trying to leave New York. I went back, and let's just say mama knew best, because my circumstances weren't ideal. But it taught me survivalship, right? And I remember at that time, because food wasn't easily accessible to me, I had to really go out. You got $1? You got $1? You got $1? You got $1? Okay, now I can go get something to eat from White Castles. Like, those were the days that I had, you know. Maybe some days I didn't come up and eat, you know. And so there were those things which taught me, one, to appreciate, and it also taught me grind, and it also taught me just a lot of the things that I put into practice now, you know, becoming a business owner and all. So I remember this one specific day. We were walking, and I lived in the projects, and so we had to walk. The projects was all the way set like in an isolated area, and this was in the Bronx, right? You had to walk maybe about 3 miles to get to this store. And you had to walk past these townhouses once you got out of the community. And for me, you know, everybody that lives in New York know it's all brick and mortar, right? So you in an apartment, it's like the size of a little closet, and everybody, about 8 of y'all in there, right? Sitting on top of each other.
In the bathtub.
In the back.
That's
so
a bed.
you definitely ain't got no upstairs, downstairs, no washer, dry. You ain't doing all of that. So, you know, I'm looking at these houses and I'm thinking, I'm hungry. my living arrangements are questionable, but one day I'm gonna have a house. And one day I'm gonna have a refrigerator full of food. And I started to plant those seeds then, right? And so fast forward, I came to Baltimore. And I'm like, this is just, it's open season. It's so much opportunity out here. You ain't gotta work as hard. Everybody ain't fighting over the same thing. I'm gonna get mine. That's right. And so I found out about this program. I'm kind of skipping ahead. I was working this job and I heard these girls talking about school, which was something I wasn't interested in. I was more interested in the street, you know.
Come on.
But they started talking
the
about
truth.
school and the difference in the money that you can make. And I'm like, it's just a piece of paper. I can do that. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to school. What am I going to go to school for? And this was at the time computers was just coming out. And so I'm like, I don't want to deal with people, so I think I'm gonna do computers, right? And then I really went to school for that, information systems, and graduated with it. And I did it based on it being a lucrative career, right? Because I had this goal in mind. Okay. And I'll get to that later. I'll come back to that later. So anyway, have this job, everything's lined up. I get myself financially ready to buy. And I remember looking through, they had these home magazines where they used to market houses that were on the market back before we had the internet.
Right.
And I remember seeing this couple, and I called the couple and I asked them to take me out. So they took me out, and I wasn't ready to buy anything. I hadn't been approved. And I just remember thinking it's a waste of my time, waste of their time. I'm going to get myself right. So I ripped the page out, and this was like in February. By June, I was ready to buy. Wow. And it wasn't that I had a bunch of money.
How old were you?
Let's see, this was 2000, so I was 23. Yeah, I was 23. And so I said, okay, I'm ready to buy. And so what it was, now you know how you get that tax return, folks? You know how you get them couple dollars from the IRS back in February? Well, I took that money and I reinvested it as a down payment. And many people do that.
Absolutely.
Right? But I was buying at a time like we are getting ready to be going in now. It's going to go down, right?
It's tanking.
And so I remember going through the program. They had all these stipulations, and I read through it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to come prepared. So they're going to approve me today. I'm not going to keep coming back like they want me to. I'm going, everything I know they want, I'm going to make sure I have it. I'm going to bring it, and they're going to approve me today. And guess what? They approved me that day. Took that letter, went back, found that agent, right? The same one I had ripped out. So we went and we looked at houses, and I had a budget. And I think at the time, I had got approved for like $120,000, right? It wasn't a lot of money. And I'm like, I ain't spending more than $100. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking I got a lot of money, but I'm realizing now that wasn't no money. But I want to take my little $100,000 and find a house. So what ended up happening is the one house the man didn't show me was the one I ended up buying, right? Bought the house through a program called NAC. Right?
Okay.
And that program, they don't go through the same underwriting requirements. And that's a whole nother story, right? Because people could be motivated to buy, but then they deal with the challenges, which is part of where you have this wealth divide, right? Because let's be honest here. You got redlining, you got blockbusting, you got steering. You have all of those terms that are supposed to be illegal, but they still happen, right? They still happen. And so this program kind of was established to help circumvent those types of things. And it did that. Because the other thing that the program did is it goes through different underwriting processes, but it also allows you to buy without the enormous amount of money that you need to close, right? If you are a first-time home buyer, how likely is it that you're going to have $20,000 to $30,000 sitting in your account when you hardly make that a year? that's just not realistic. And so this program allows you to buy with not as much money down and so on and so forth. So long and the short, got my house. My mortgage was $650. Okay. And so fast forward to speed this up, 3 years later, sold the house for a profit of almost $100,000. So do the math there. I took a $3,000 tax return and flipped it into almost $100,000 in 3 years because I was patient, I was disciplined, and I was committed. And these are the things that we owe it to ourselves to do these things for ourselves. We're in this time of instantaneous stuff. We want things now. We want them today. No, we have to plan. It's a process. Everything you see on TV didn't happen today. It didn't happen in a week. It didn't even happen in a month. It took time to build. Folks, take this time now to start sowing so you can reap your benefits in 3 to 5 years down the road so that you can begin to build your generational wealth for your kids and your grandkids and your great-grandchildren and so on and so forth. So that $100,000 I took, and then it just kind of goes from there. I took and I went and bought another house. I bought an investment property, and kind of from there went into the business. And so that was the seed. That $3,000 is the connection, is the seed that putting it into this, taking from that, putting it into this, taking from that and putting it into this allowed me to grow into the position that I am in today. And that was the best investment, the best wealth, the best resource that, I felt like I had, at that time. And so, yeah. And so that was the thing with the real estate. And then the last point about the stocks, right? And so you mentioned earlier I had a job with Verizon.
Yes.
And Verizon, that tenure of my life taught me a lot, right? I was around some wonderful, highly educated individuals. Some of them sold into me. Some I learned from them not sewing into me, right? Because everything is an experience, right?
Yes.
And so you can give me your bad energy, but there's something positive that I'm still going to take away from it because I'm trying to grow, right? And so all of those experiences, resources, and so on and so forth, we got to a point, it was like 6 years in, and they did away with pensions. And they said, hey, this is time for you to start investing in yourself. So we're going to match whatever you put in your 401k. And everyone's like, oh, yeah,
Money
great.
moves.
Ooh, yeah, I'm going to double up on my money. And I didn't understand this because no one taught me about this.
We didn't know about this.
We didn't know about this. And
Yes.
quite honestly, I didn't even learn this until 15 years after being at Verizon and leaving Verizon. That's a smoke screen for me. I'm not trying to deter anyone from investing in it if you want to. But what ends up happening is I take a part of my pre-tax money I made, I put it in an account for your corporation to reinvest it, to make money off of it for 30 to 60 years, however long it sits in there.
Wow.
I can't touch it because I get penalized. And I can't touch it because I get penalized because that's going to mess up what y'all doing with my money. You can make money off of my money, but I get penalized if I make money off of my money. How is this really helping me? So technically,
wow, I never thought of it like that.
Right? Who's to say I'm even gonna? And I know I'm gonna live to be over 100. But who's to say people gonna even make it to retirement age so they don't get penalized? Right? So I started to think about it. Okay, you can make money off my money. I can't make money off my money. And the deterrent is I lose 40 cents off of every dollar if I decide to go back and get my money. Okay. Well, technically, that's the money that the company is putting in. So really, I'm just getting my money back. I'm only losing what they say they gave me.
Right.
And they really didn't give me anything.
Gosh, this is key.
Right?
Yes.
okay,
Wow.
there's this thing called a loan that you can do on a 401k
Right.
account. You pay yourself back with interest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once I understood that, okay, I'm gonna take a loan and I'm gonna reinvest it, and once it comes back, I'm gonna pay it back.
Put it
And guess what? I'm not paying that high interest on that car no more. I'm gonna go ahead pay this 4% on my 401k money I'm lending to myself instead of your 10%, and I'm gonna go pay. So I just making your resources work for you.
Wow.
And then I took it a little bit further and
Go
I
ahead,
said,
cousin.
you know what? What are they putting this money into for me to only make $5,000 to $7,000 a year, and I'm putting in about for what that's not math, not making no sense to me. So I looked at that's really where my interest with stocks came from.
Okay.
Started to come from, and so I started to do some research on individual companies, right? And the first stock that I really was able to gain off of, I really did some good research. I watched market trends. I watched their corporate reportings and all of those things. And I bought a stock in an industry that was up and coming. I'll just say that, right? And I bought it at like $6 and change, right? And I bought, I don't know, I bought a nice fair amount, and I just left it alone. And sure enough, within like a year and a half, that stock, and I am telling the truth, raised to about $60 per share. And then the market started to go a little crazy.
Okay.
So I took it out, sold it. But you pay 11 to 14% as opposed to 40%. And you just managing your own money,
Your own cash.
your own cash. So to your point, right now, if people are listening, a lot of these companies are doing stock splits, right? And what it does is, because the market is down, it helps the valuation, because now you're gaining the interest of more masses of individuals that are financially able to invest in a situation they otherwise would not, right? So I'm going to take a stock that's $500. I'm going to break it down to $100. Now I can appeal to this group of investors that I wouldn't usually appeal to, right? But now, eventually, that $100 is going to eventually get back up to $500. And that cycle may take 5 to 7 years. Well, how you put your money in retirement for what, 20, 30 years? And you ain't
can't touch
making that
it.
kind of a profit.
No, you're not.
5 to 7 years, and you turning $100 into $500. You know, and I know I'm making this sound real simple, real cut and dry. There are things you do have to do your research. You do have to stay vested and educated and on top of your investments, so you understand when to pull, when not to pull, when to hold, when to fold. There is work that is associated with it, but if you do what you need to do, there's also a great benefit from it. So those were the two things I wanted to talk about.
That is mind boggling to me, because I'm telling you, it's just like this is what we need. You know, it's just like, yes, we need the word of God. I mean, you can get the Bible all the time. This is why I want to bring this to women specifically, to tell people about investing. And they don't teach these things in school about budgeting, personal finances. When I was 8 years old, I started budgeting a checkbook. So it's just like, I was always, because I'm always trying to figure out, why we don't never have no money, and I'm just like, well, maybe we should do this. And I started clipping coupons and all those things. So my mom, she would let me do whatever. I could sign her. I knew how to sign her name, and I used to write the checks, and I used to go out and do the grocery shopping and do the couponing.
Yeah.
And I was trying to find ways to save money. And so I said, as an adult, I want to make sure, the only way at Morgan State, I went to Morgan State, and, Manny and I, we both went to business school. That's the only way we would get a personal finance class. But I think that that's something that they should teach in all colleges, Ivy League, even in high school, that's a personal finance of budgeting, of making a budget, of having a budget, because I sat down with one of my church partners years ago, and she was just like, oh my gosh, she just didn't know how much money was coming in. She was just spending, spending, spending. She was just let the money, and she wasn't creating a budget. I was like, let's sit down and create a budget and stick to it. It was causing issues with the relationship, her marriage, and all that stuff. I'm telling you, it's just like money is everything. So it's just like you need money to be able to survive. Even in the Bible, it says money answers all things. You gonna need money to be able to live. And so this is why it's just like on June the 6th, there is getting ready to be a big stock split for Amazon. Amazon is leading if you look at you got to see what these rich investors are investing in. Absolutely. They're investing in real estate investment trusts. She knows about those. There's so many things that you can do, but Amazon is going to be king for the next 13 years. No one is catching them. Even Walmart, they're trying to create certain things and certain strategies and using their stores to make sure they can ship it to you. They still don't get it to you fast enough. And it's like, I tried it, I signed up for the service, like, well, let me try, Walmart. But you've seen where, remember it was Blockbuster.
Right.
So we had Blockbuster. No more Blockbuster because we started getting the red box movies.
Right.
So
exactly.
Blockbuster closed down, and when people was just like, okay, well, Netflix said we could do it better.
Yeah.
We got and Walmart got in with the Voodoo. You can order your movies.
Yep.
Everything is right there at your disposal. Like,
Absolutely.
okay, so now Redbox out of business. Do y'all see Red Boxes anymore? Red Boxes. So you got to be able to go with the shift.
Absolutely.
And Netflix and then Amazon Prime.
Absolutely.
So all of these things, it's just like, so they making everything convenient for you. That's what we were having a conversation about how, you don't even have to go to the grocery store. So, and one thing that we were talking about before is just like, when we were talking about a few things before we went on a live. So there's so many things happening right now. It's like a bigger shift. Even the way we are doing church, the way we're virtually pastoring people all across the nation. People watch us in Europe and Jamaica and all that stuff. It's just like, you can watch it and you can watch church in the privacy of your own home and get ready. You act like, okay, well, I can clean up and I can have brunch delivered to me from expectations to my own house, and I can stay here and I can get ready for work the next day. Yeah. So I can have God, I can do this, I can get my groceries, they can deliver my waters. And it's just like, and people are making money off of door dashing.
Yeah.
That's another source of income that people have taken advantage of. And, they in track of their own time, for people who don't want to work a 9 to 5, like there are means that you can get extra money. And if you get off your job, there are ways that you can find extra money to invest. If you feel like your money is not making enough, there are ways and things that you can do to make money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally agreed. The thing about it is that we do it for our children.
Yes.
Why don't we do it for ourselves? Yes. Right? Why not? I have this thing now where it's like, so I have 2 sets not sets. Well, my children are 20.
It's different shifts, different waves.
Like, so my 2 children are 20 years apart.
Right.
And I'm not Gianna. I'm not the same mom I was to Daquan that I am to Caleb, right? I'm a more mature, wiser, exactly. I've experienced a little bit of life.
I'm telling you, God has done a work. Gigi is still there. Gigi will come out sometimes, but the conservative Gianna, God has done a mighty work. You would talk about somebody who want to pop off, like who wants some, she was like that, but don't play with her. Like, y'all see this conservative woman, grown woman, don't test her.
She's
but
sweet as
God
pie.
God has done a work on her. I mean, she grew up, she was at Bishop Donnell Johnson's church for many years, and God has done a work on her to do these things. I know that she knows that it was by the power of God that she's been able to do all those things. and just taking those jewels. You know, it's just like we blow money on everything. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we were talking about how young people, our children, how we raise our children and what we're doing with our children, and how, how the Hispanic population, they taking over.
Well, the differences are like, one of the things that I try to do, especially with, and I'm going to say the younger group, because I have my 7-year-old, I also have grandchildren, and who are also 7 and 4 today, right? So what I do with them is I try to bring them into my work environment, right? Because children duplicate what they see, right? And so if they're learning young enough, this is what Nana goes out and does every day. This is what Mommy goes out and does every day, or even this is what Daddy goes out and does every day. These are the things that they'll become familiar with and they won't be afraid to do, right? Everybody can't be a YouTube celebrity. Everybody can't be a TikTok celebrity, right? There are a lot of other resources, commodities, and things out here that we need bodies in order to sustain. Right?
To keep the economy going.
Because going and
need
everything.
that.
And so if everybody is migrating towards one industry and kind of leaving all of these silos out here, well, that's another opportunity created, right? Who's to say that you can't make it your own and incorporate technology into it to make it more accessible, maybe a little easier to deal with. But, these are the things that we need to teach our children to challenge themselves to try to see, bigger picture. So I try to get the kids to come out and just, here's what we do at this job, or here's what we do here, to kind of get them exposed.
Exactly. And things that you do, because, you've done like commercial properties, you does commercial and personal real estate properties and stuff, and like that's awesome to take the kids and see all of that.
I bring them out and I'll have them helping me clean up, or I'll have my granddaughters helping me stage, or little different things, and then I actually bring them through the progression of the project as well, right? And so they're seeing the different phases.
That's what we're doing. We're in the process. We're flipping home, so we're taking the kids and they're looking around. So it's just like, I see this,
right? Exactly. And so you see
that's how they do what's taught. They do what's they like what we teach them, how we see what they see. Absolutely. It's just like they mimic everything that they see.
Absolutely. And so so it's a great opportunity. I'm just saying, engage with your children, and have conversations with them. Try to, the other thing that I learned is also just to not live vicariously through my kids at all.
Wow.
Because we have these big dreams, things that we want, but they are individuals as well. And they have dreams. Just think about it. When you was a kid, did you want your parents telling you who you got? I love my grandmother. Love her, rest her soul. But she wanted her whole family to be a bunch of nurses. And I'm sorry. I couldn't even hear the pulse. It wasn't for me. I couldn't do it. I had to let her down a little bit. But I found my own way, right? And how about if I just had the support? Not saying I really didn't, but they didn't know. They didn't know. We know, right? The support to say, what is it that you like? What is it about you that doesn't feel like work? What do you enjoy doing? Have these conversations young. So even if you don't know, it's okay. But now you got their mind working.
That's passing it down.
Exactly.
And we I don't know if you watched the show. It's called The Dynasty of the Lakers. It was an HBO show. It's really good. So it talks about how Jerry Buss had purchased the Lakers. He had a nickel and dime to get that honey. And so Billy, your cousin nephew, 12 years old. So he's a really good basketball player, like phenomenal. So he was like, "Mommy, which college did Jerry Buss play for? I know he's really rich in all of that and famous, but what position did he play?" I said, "Baby, he didn't play basketball. He was in the business of basketball. He had some real estate. You got to watch it. He had some real estate properties that he sold. He had to borrow money from other people to buy the Laker dynasty. And they were on a wing and a prayer. So the first year that he bought it, they won the championship with Magic Johnson and all of that stuff. You've been watching that show.
Beginning.
Yes,
I just saw some
you gotta watch the
pieces.
beginning. But
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't let the
That's
cat out
okay.
the bag.
No, now I'm interested. I want to see.
Yes. So he had to struggle. And the books was just a mess. It was just and the mother was doing this and cooking the books, and like it was so much that he had to do, and they let it all out the bag. But I said that he was like, well, what basketball? I said, baby, Dr. Butts had a doctorate degree in science, but I said he owned investment properties, liquidated all of the investment properties, still didn't have enough. Took money from the ex-wife, borrowed money from the ex-wife. He give me this money, I'm gonna loan it back. I'm telling you, like, this is gonna be good, it's gonna be great. And he actually shifted the way they did basketball, with the dances, like all of that started with Jeannie and Jerry Buss. Jeannie Buss, who owns the Lakers now, his daughter. So she was there grinding with him, so she knows about struggle. She knows about her grandmother was an alcoholic and all that stuff. So it's just like they understand. So we see Jeannie now, but Jeannie was there with her dad, working with her dad, watching him when he did. I don't think she knew everything that he was doing. But he had to really struggle to be able to sacrifice like you did with that $3,000. Jerry Buss had to go to people. He went to this bank. He's going to this person. Like, can I get $1 million? I'm trying to buy this. And they're filthy. They're billionaires now.
Yeah.
Billionaires.
That's vision for sure. And to your point, one of the things that we learn is banks don't lend people that actually need money.
Right.
Yeah, they lend to people that don't need
Right.
money, right?
Right.
If you have this and so sometimes you have to be innovative, as Jerry was, and creative, and believe with conviction in your vision enough so much, because if you don't, how can you expect somebody else to, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah,
He was very optimistic, positive. Everything's just falling apart. They didn't know how they was going to pay the employees. Some of the employees had to skip some checks, but Jerry took care of those people, of who stuck in there, who hung in there with them. But he did. It was a vision that he had, and he was like always like real bubby, like we're going to have the this, we're going to have this, we're going to have that. He was a mess, but it took a struggle, and it was a process.
It is a real thing, and being a business owner,
Yes.
you have to. I'm not gonna say what you have to do, but if you want it to work, you have to be fully committed to it. There have been times, many times, where I can't pay myself, or I have to take money from myself to pay.
Yes, we've
to
done
keep
that.
the business afloat,
Absolutely.
right? But at the end of the day, if you are believing in what you're doing that much, it is worth it.
Sure.
It's worth it. And because you can come out of it. You can come out of it.
And we are witnesses. It was times that we had to go on Snap. We went from 40 employees to 3 employees.
Yeah.
Well, I had to work for free to do the payroll for those 3 employees, work with the accountant and all that stuff. I had to be able to do all of that stuff. And I ended up having to go back to work. I went from making $80,000 to $20,000. It was a moment of sacrifice that we had to do for my husband's nonprofit.
Yep.
The nonprofit had dried up. We had some rough moments.
Absolutely.
And that was the thing of having the ownership of our own home. We were able to take some deferments.
Yeah.
That was the power of ownership of. If we had to pay rent, we would have been homeless.
Yeah, you'd have been evicted. Yep.
Yeah.
You never. So these things like. I can't say it enough. You gotta start to look at it like you're investing in yourself. And I have this through a company I work for. We have a mentorship program.
Okay.
Right? And we did this session, and we had a session with high school students.
Okay.
Right. And one topic specifically that I was talking about were career paths within the construction industry, real estate construction industry, right? And what was funny about it is that everybody wanted to be a boss. right?
Sure.
Nobody wanted to be the worker.
Right.
Everybody wanted to
I'ma
be
be
the
in charge.
boss. And it was funny to me because it's all about the idea of being in charge, of everyone looking up to you, of being responsible. But understand, heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Come on.
Right? So you might be sitting in that position, but you're also financially liable for everything.
Absolutely.
You're legally liable for
That
everything.
sounds like I don't want to sign no checks. Like my
Yeah,
husband,
you
the
know,
boss.
yeah,
He the
yeah,
boss.
exactly. So I mean, and
costs.
you gotta look. If somebody don't show up to work, guess what? You need to show up to work. So all of the freedoms and the glamorousness that you think comes along with that
Glamorousness.
title,
Put that on a shirt.
you know, it's not all that. You know, you gotta work and build to get to that picture
Absolutely.
of that role. So
It's a hot seat. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this evening. I'm
you for
sure
having me.
you. Oh my gosh, I'm sure you all will. I know is a please take these gems. And if next year if you missed out on this time, it's just like 7 up, 7 down. It's going to come back. It's going to come back. The wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous, and there is money. There is a way that you can make a way. God's going to make a way. You just keep praying, you keep holding, keep fighting, keep pushing. It's going to be a level of sacrifice. Everything that you do is going to be a sacrifice that we have to do in anything. She's going back to school. It's going to take a level of sacrifice. She still has a young boy, a baby. You know, he's ready to start first grade and all this stuff. So he'll be in second grade. So, you know, and she's on the move. She's still working. She's a business owner. So she's you already take that leap of faith. It's going to be a level of sacrifice. So just know that, keep fighting. We're praying for you, and we just stay encouraged. And we will see y'all in September because I'm breaking for the summer. And so we'll see you all in September. Thank you so much, Deanna.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
CEO extraordinaire. Y'all have a good night.
Take care.
Bye.